Hey folks, welcome to the show. This is part 4 and the final part of the trade deadline series, an ultimate guide to everything that was given and taken by teams. This is the Pacific Division. A lot of movement here within the division and in and out, beginning with the Anaheim Ducks. Halo music is playing in the background once again. The biggest or most notable thing the Ducks received was Carter Gauthier, his signing rights from Philadelphia. They gave away Jamie Drysdale and a second-round pick to Philadelphia, and I think it was handled well. I think both teams will be happy with the return. I think both teams handled it well. I think Ducks fans handled the whole situation well, and Carter Gauthier handled it well, considering all the story around it. I don't think Flyers fans handled it well. They don't normally handle things well. If you're a Flyers fan, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoy the show, but I don't think you'll be able to defend sending death threats to a teenager and call it handling it well. But I think Philadelphia will be happy with Jamie Drysdale, and they have been already. Moving on with the Ducks, they received two AHLers, Myers and Myzik, from Colorado and Montreal, a first rounder and a fifth round pick from Edmonton, and a third rounder from Toronto. The fifth round pick from Edmonton can upgrade to a fourth if the Ducks win, or not the Ducks, the Oilers win the Stanley Cup this year. The Ducks lost Sam Carrick and Henrik to the Oilers. They are retaining half of their cap hits. Jamie Drysdale, as aforementioned, to the Flyers, Leo Bushkin to Toronto, and Jacob Perreault, the son of Yannick Perreault, to the Montreal Canadiens, where he reports to their AHL team. Ducks lost a second-round pick to Philadelphia, as aforementioned, fifth-round pick to Colorado, and a seventh-rounder to Edmonton. I think it was a decent deadline for Anaheim. Doesn't move the needle too much, as they say, but Gauthier and a first-round pick is a pretty good haul for a deadline. The Ducks fans will weirdly find themselves cheering for the Oilers in the playoffs, I think. It's weird to cheer for a division rival, I'm sure. It's weird for me because I'm a fan of Edmonton and Vegas, and it gets really weird and can get messy. But not super messy yet. Hopefully it doesn't get super messy as I cheer for both, because I don't want to choose between the two, but I will be. Don't worry, I would choose Edmonton, but I don't want to be forced to. But I might. I haven't yet, though it came close last year. But anyways, to the Ducks, the reason they might cheer for the Oilers, not only to get a slightly better draft pick, but they would see three former Ducks that I know of lift the trophy with the Oilers, being Corey Perry, Sam Carrick, and Adam Henrique. Next is the Calgary Flames. They are the only team I could not fit a logo on. I could have put a little tiny logo on the top right, but it would just been really tiny. They had a really great deadline, in my opinion. I know some Calgary friends of mine felt maybe they could have got one more first round pick or two, but I still think it was a pretty amazing haul that included three well-respected prospects, a fourth that I like quite a bit, a talented top six NHLer, and two first round picks, and which is included among five top 3 round picks that will occur over the next 3 years, as well as a fourth. Let's get into it. It begins with Hunter. I'm not going to try to pronounce that last name. Don't know how it's pronounced. That's fine by me. I'll learn it eventually, because he'll probably have time in the NHL. Or he came over from Vancouver, or his signing rights, I mean. And he's a very talented, highly respected prospect. Riley Damiani, a center from Dallas's AHL team, came over, as well as Artem Grushnikov, a defensive defenseman who I like quite a bit. Andrei Kuzmenko is the biggest in terms of immediate change for the Calgary. I think he's been pretty good for Calgary so far, and I hope he continues to do better and helps Huberdeau. I do hope Flames get better. It's a better league when the Flames are good, just not too good. And anyways, Calgary does eat the entirety of his contract, which seems less and less common these days, but they also didn't have to eat any of Lindholm's contract, which we'll get to in their lost category. They also received Yanni Yarmo, a decently well-respected prospect from Vancouver, and Daniil Miramanov, another well-respected prospect from Vegas. The Flames also received Okotiuk from the Sharks. In terms of picks, we talked about them already, so I'll just go over the conditions. The 2026 first round pick from Vegas is top 10 protected, and the third round pick from Vegas for next year's draft could upgrade to a second if the Golden Knights win a playoff series this year. The Dallas third round pick only transfers if the Stars advance to the Stanley Cup Finals, and the fourth round pick becomes a third if the Canucks reaches the Western Conference Finals this year. If it remains a fourth, Calgary receives the highest between Vancouver's and New Jersey's pick for the 2024 fourth round, as Vancouver owns them both. In getting this massive haul, Calgary lost some key pieces that will become key pieces elsewhere. Noah Hannafin and Chris Tanev went to Vegas and the Stars respectively. Calgary is eating half of their cap hit, and they lost Lindholm to the Canucks, as well as Matthias Pettersson, a Norwegian AHLer, to the Stars. In getting Okhotiuk, they gave away a fifth-round pick to San Jose, which was Chicago's that they owned. And there was a previous condition when Calgary got that fifth-round pick in that Chicago would give the highest fifth-round pick of 2024 that they own to the Flames, and now the Flames would give that pick they received to the Sharks. Next is the Oilers. Some people kind of dunked on this, saying, "Oh, it wasn't enough. You got to be more aggressive." I liked it. I liked it quite a bit. I would have liked to have seen more, but I understand that the market was pretty active, and Edmonton didn't have a lot to give. So I wasn't surprised that the Oilers didn't get Tarasenko, but I was happy that they were in on him, as well as Toffoli. But that's more rumor mill. Let's talk about what actually happened. And what actually happens, the Oilers made one trade, but there was a lot of moving pieces in that trade. They received Sam Carrick and Adam Henrique, as previously mentioned, and Troy Stetcher from Coyotes, because there was actually two trades. I forgot about that one. And Ty Taylor, a goalie's signing rights from the Tampa Bay Lightning. They lost a first rounder to the Ducks for this year, a fourth rounder from next year, which changes to 2026 if the Oilers win the Stanley Cup this year, which is pretty meaningless, but maybe Tampa's hoping that fourth round pick would be a bit higher in 2026 if the Oilers win it this year. I don't know. The 2027 fourth round pick went to Anaheim, and their 2025 fifth round pick goes to Anaheim, and as previously mentioned, can upgrade to a fourth if they win the Cup. So far, I liked having Carrick, Henrique, and Stetcher. Stetcher adds more NHL-ready players in the likely event of injuries on the deep blue line, and Carrick and Henrique do the same for the forwards, while also adding more penalty kill abilities and just depth. I think it was a good move, and if it was all the Oilers tried to do, I would be mad, but I know that Holland tried to do other things and he didn't want to overpay, and I'm fine by that. But what matters at the end is if they actually win the Cup. Next is the Sharks. There has been some criticism of their returns. I think a little bit of it is overblown, because a lot of what the Sharks are trying to do is just to get money out and just not have to spend so much money, and it resulted in some low returns. But let's talk about what they received. They received Devin Cooley from the Sabres. He made his first start recently. Didn't go too well. Not really his fault, I don't think. But Sharks fans can be excited by him, is that he's a local boy. He grew up as a Sharks fan, and he grew up in the area. So you always like seeing those stories, and I wish him well in that. They received Edstrom signing rights from Vegas. He also seems to be a pretty well-liked prospect. Klim Kostin from the Red Wings. And Detroit fans are familiar with him in that he is an easy fan favorite, and he's already found some success with the Sharks. And they received Jack Thompson, an AHLer from the Lightning, as well as Vitek Vanacek in a goalie swap from the Devils. They did receive a first-round pick at the deadline. That's coming from Vegas with no strings attached. It comes in 2025. Third-rounder from Tampa Bay, and the previously mentioned Chicago fifth-round pick from Calgary, which with the weird conditions, and a seventh-rounder from the Devils. In getting this return, the Sharks lost Anthony Duclair to the Lightning. I mentioned in the previous video how it's a common tactic for teams to pick up players who kind of fell through the cracks in the offseason and hope that they have a good season so that they can get something out of him. Duclair, I guess, didn't blossom as much as the Sharks hoped, but he's still a very talented scorer, as already proven in Tampa, and Tampa was familiar with him from his time with the Panthers. The Sharks also lost one of their biggest names in recent history, Thomas Hertl, to the Vegas Golden Knights, which has been the stir of controversy, as a lot of people felt that, and including myself, feel like the Sharks could have gotten more because they weren't just giving up Hertl. If it was just Hertl for a good prospect and first round pick, you could make an excuse. But the Sharks also replenished Vegas's draft capital with 2 third-round picks, and a lot of people felt like that was a bad move. In the previously mentioned goalie swap, the Sharks gave away Kaapo Kähkönen. He's a capable goaltender who's not having a hot season, more or less because of the team around him. And we'll see if that changes with the Devils, whose defense hasn't been up to snuff, but is still better than the Sharks. And they, as mentioned 2 slides ago, gave Okhotiuk to the Flames and Radim Simek to the Red Wings. In addition to the third-round picks they gave up to Vegas, they gave 2 7th-rounders, 1 to Detroit and 1 to Buffalo. This is kind of just a teardown for the Sharks. It's kind of at a point where, as a Sharks fan, I'm not a Sharks fan, but if I was, it's kind of, well, you just kind of gotta trust the process and hope for some good things from the players they received. But there isn't too much hope yet. But the first round pick is nice. Edstrom is nice. Klim Kostin's easy to cheer for, and Cooley, being a local boy, is easy to cheer for. Next is the Seattle Kraken, who made a single move with the Rangers, in that with the Kraken's struggles, they decided to sell, but they only sold one player. That was Alexander Wenberg to the Rangers. The Kraken retained half of his cap hit and received a 2nd-rounder from the Rangers and a 4th-rounder, which is actually Dallas's, which has a previous condition from when the Rangers received it, where if Niels Lundqvist scores 55 points between this and last season, the pick upgrades to a 3rd. He's not likely to hit that unless he goes on like a really unreal scoring pace. So it'll probably remain a 4th. Next, you're probably wondering where's LA, because this was supposed to be every division, but they actually didn't make any trades since January 1st. That's not for a lack of trying. They tried to get 2 well-respected goalies and failed on both. Well, kind of failed on both. Because they made a trade for, you've probably heard the news, they made a trade for Linus Ullmark that Boston accepted, and Linus Ullmark said no. And then LA made a trade to the Flames for Jacob Markstrom, and the Flames said sure, but Markstrom said no. And you start to wonder, well, it's not just once, it's twice. That's 2 really good goalies saying no to playing for the LA Kings, one of the most expensive, it's top 5 in most expensive franchises in the NHL, as estimated by Forbes. I can speculate on that. I'm trying not to make too many jokes as an Oilers fan, because I want LA fans to enjoy their time here and receive information, and I don't want to alienate them. But like, if I was a goalie, because I do play goalie, and I'd look at LA, there are some positives. The positives is that Cam Talbot and Rittich have both done really well there because of the defense. So you have a pretty good defense in front of you. So it's probably not the on-ice product, in my opinion, unless Jacob Markstrom just doesn't want to play the Oilers, because that started his struggles was playing the Oilers in the playoffs. So that could be the case. The Kings have played the Oilers in the playoffs the last 2 years, and if the playoffs began right now, they'd be playing them again. And they've lost the last 2 times, and hopefully, in my case, they win or lose the 3rd time in a row to the Oilers. So my other reasoning is that LA's living situation is on the poor end of things. So I wonder to what degree that has. Part of it isn't entirely LA's fault. There's a lot going on in LA, but there's also the taxes, and and you're seeing a lot of people leave California despite how pretty the state is, but that's more of a politics thing. This isn't a politics channel. This is hockey. So I'm not really going to get too deep into that, but that could be an explanation. You do see players regularly give more benefits to areas with less taxes, and California is not one of those areas that has less taxes. It has quite a bit. So that is my guess, but I couldn't really tell you why Markstrom and Ullmark both said no, because it's not like they're going to a bad team with bad defense. LA controls the puck very well. Anyways, to Vancouver, you'll notice Zadorov trade is not on here because that was before January 1st, which was my deadline. We talked about everything that was moved because this all involves Calgary. So I just wanted to talk about my opinion on it. When the trade happened, I wanted, as an Oilers fan, I was kind of mad that Vancouver, a division rival, got Elias Lindholm. But bias aside, I was like, yeah, he should fit in really well. That should give the Canucks a ton of options with their top six. He should do very well. He's been a little slow lately, but I don't think that's indicative of anything. And maybe Elias Pettersson likes him a lot not because they share the same name probably, but more Swedes. We know that happens with Finns a lot. They perform better when there's more Finns around. I don't know how true that is for Swedes, but there's probably a degree of truth to it. But the Canucks gave up quite a bit. 2 first-round picks, 2 very well-respected prospects, and Andrei Kuzmenko. They could have let go Kuzmenko because things weren't working out between him and Rick Tocchet. First-round pick was probably expected, maybe even a prospect, but it just feels like a lot, in my opinion. I don't believe Vancouver actually gave away 2 first-round picks. Now that I say that out loud, this is the accurate one. The other one was a first and a fourth. Okay, that sounds a lot better. You're probably scratching your head. See, I knew there was still more mistakes on here. I don't even know if that's 2024, but it was. I know this is accurate because I double-checked it. Yeah, it is 2024. Anyways, I still felt like that was quite a lot. And if Vancouver had been a team that had won 4 playoff series in the last 2 years, I'd say, okay, this is it. But they're not. They haven't been to the playoffs in quite a few years. Not as long as other teams, yeah, but still, you don't really know how this team is going to perform in the playoffs. If this team becomes a round 1 exit, obviously they're going to be laughed at because they're a top team heading into it. But 2, because they gave up a lot for Elias Lindholm, who you really don't know is going to stay. So you're banking on a lot to happen for this trade to be worth it. You're banking on either winning the Cup with Elias Lindholm soon, or Lindholm having a big extension. And even with the big extension, the trade worth is questionable in terms of the Canucks. But you can certainly tell me your thoughts in the comments, as I'll be happy to remind you at the end of the video too, is to share your thoughts and comments. But that's just my opinion. That's a lot that they gave up for a guy who Elias Lindholm could very easily be gone at the offseason, and the Canucks aren't we're still not sure if they're contenders. They're playing like it. There's no doubt that they're playing like it. And I am a big fan and big respecter of Demko, Miller, Quinn Hughes, and Pettersson. I believe in all those guys being capable or key pieces to a cup-winning team, but they have to prove it, right? They have to prove that they can make it through the playoffs too, right? And that hasn't happened yet. The last time they were in the playoffs, they did have some success, but that was quite a few years ago. This is a different team. It's gone through a few coaches. So that's just my opinion going on it. Obviously, I could be completely wrong. Maybe the Canucks win the Stanley Cup this year, and even if Lindholm doesn't resign, that would be worth it. Even if it wasn't the Canucks' first Stanley Cup ever, it would be worth it. at least in my opinion, and I'm sure in Vancouver's opinion, but the chance of that is really low, even for a team doing as well as they are, and even for teams who have playoff pedigree, the chances are still pretty low. Lastly is the Vegas Golden Knights, who once again stole the show at the deadline. I enjoyed it as a Vegas fan, but also as an Oilers fan, I was kind of like, well, dang. I felt like the Oilers, if we met the Golden Knights in the playoffs, we'd have them on the ropes because they're a little banged up. And it's like, oh, okay. Wow, they got quite a bit. And they gave up quite a bit, but that's not new to Vegas, and they've been able to make it work. So I'm going to speak a bit as a Vegas fan too as we get into the lost area, because I don't think you need my opinion on telling you how good the players they got are. They received Noah Hannafin, and they're only paying a quarter of his contract. Calgary, or cap hit, Calgary is taking on half of it, and Philadelphia another quarter. They got Thomas Hertl from the Sharks, who will be there for a while. Anthony Mantha from Washington, who's a decent middle six player, and Mikhail Vorobyev, the signing rights from Philadelphia. They also received 2 third-round picks from the Sharks, as mentioned in a couple slides ago. As a Vegas fan, I would be concerned that with all the picks they give up, as we're going to get into, and all the prospects, even if you don't have a great prospect pool, because you don't need one if you're competing right now, but you should still have the ability to build one, even if it's not great. And when you give away 6 picks and 2 prospects, which the Golden Knights did do, I'd be worried about that. But they got 2 third-round picks, who, they're not first-rounders or second-rounders, but chances are one of those will be an NHLer. I think last time I saw it's around 40%, so one of them could very realistically, or both, or neither, you never know. But awesome. Wow. It's just, and as I said in my short too, for the Noah Hannafin trade, wow, they did it again, and I'm sure nobody has any complaints about it at all. In gaining those players and picks, they lost David Edstrom, probably one of, if not their best prospect, to the Sharks. Danilo Miramanov, one of their better younger players, to the Flames. 2 first-round picks, one to San Jose, with no strings attached, another to Calgary, which is top 10 protected, a second-rounder to Washington, a third-rounder to Calgary, which can upgrade to a second if the Golden Knights win a playoff series this year, another fourth-round pick to Washington, and a fifth to the Flyers. So yeah, it's an excellent trade deadline for the Golden Knights, but as the Golden Knights know more than anyone, who cares if they don't win the Stanley Cup? That's been on their mind. They will happily shed whoever they want and get whoever they want to win the Stanley Cup, and I have full respect for that. Whether I'm speaking as an Oilers fan or a Golden Knights fan, you gotta respect their ability to go out and get what they want, and you can take a little issue with their ruthlessness in it, but there's also some disrespect there. The obvious complaint is the whole LTIR situation, which probably deserves its own video. I'm just going to say right now for this video is, it's not like they can't do that. They can, and it's not like they're the only team doing it. Over half the league is doing it. 17 teams right now are using LTIR. And Vegas isn't even the team using them the most. Toronto Maple Leafs are the team using LTIR the most, actually, according to Cap Friendly. But again, that deserves a deeper video because there's some other things going on with it and all that kind of stuff. But that's it for now. Thank you so much for watching and sticking around. I hope you enjoyed the information or the white noise or both. Please tell your friends to get some cool information, hockey information from the Settling the West show. It'd really help both you and me if you subscribe, turn on notifications, and if you like this video, please actually like it physically on the web or virtually on the website. And once again, for a third time now, I'd be happy to hear your thoughts and comments. I will absolutely go and read through them. Doesn't mean I'm going to reply. If it's a dumb comment, I might just keep it silent, but ignore it. But that's it for now. Thank you again, and I will see you when I see you.